If you want a badass techno kick underneath flowy melodic oh my gosh, why can't I hit that word? Kick drums. Now, I don't know if you know this, but kick drums are a pretty important part of electronic music. I think it's the driving force behind your song. It's the pulse that really makes people move. It's the sound that makes your neighbor go crazy. It's so good when you get the right kick in your track. Now, I'll be honest with you, over the years, the kick has not been my strongest point. It took me a long time to find my own style, what I wanted to do with my music, and how to incorporate a kick with a bass, with the melody, with percussion. Because ultimately, they all need to go together. And ultimately, that's where style comes from. That's where your genre comes from. Now, I want to show you some key principles of what makes up a kick. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you need to generate your kicks from scratch, okay? I know that there's a lot of producers out there that take a lot of pride and put a lot of effort into generating original kicks with every song. I don't work that way, but I do know some good tricks in how to find the right kick for your song once you know what you're after. Okay, so let's take a look at a few different kicks right now so you can look at a couple characteristics of each of them and help to break it down so you can find your own kick quicker and easier. The first kick that we've got here is heavy. You can see the waveform is made up of a big long tail. Okay, let's zoom in on one of these here. This top one, it's big and beefy. What does this sound like? It's big. It's a warehouse techno kick. Right away, that makes up a lot of the bass frequencies. It's got a nice snap to it. That is a big kick. Let's listen to the next one. Okay, a little softer on the snap. It still has a nice tail, but you can see it fades out. I like this one. This is actually from an original 808. This is sampled from an 808 machine. This is one of the most famous kick drums of all time. I like it. Here's another one. Okay, similar to the 808, but you can see it's beefy in the middle. You can see it's thick right through the tail. And the last one. Okay, let's try that again. It's kind of a mix of all of them. Now, there's no right or wrong kick, but there's a couple rules that you should follow as best as you can to pick the right kick. Every kick has two main parts to it. And if we zoom into every single one here, what you're going to identify is the beginning portion, the part that seems to fluctuate quicker. Okay, it vibrates quicker at the beginning. That's called the click or the snap of the kick. That's actually generated from a higher frequency. That gives it the punch to tell the listener there's a kick there. If it didn't have this, it gets harder to hear the low frequency tail of a kick drum. So this is really important. It's important for a DJ to cue up their tracks, and it's important for just a listener to identify where the actual timing is. So you can see 4 different kicks here. They all have similar properties. Where do you use these? How do you know what to use and when to use them? As an artist, it's up to you. Really, you're the creator from nothingness into something. You can use whatever you want. If you want a badass techno kick underneath nice flowy pads and emotional melodies, be my guest, okay? You are the musician that gets to come up with all of those rules. However, you have to come up with an idea of what you want the purpose to be. If you want DJs to play your music, sometimes that combination is very hard to find a market for. As a progressive DJ, I go into techno, I go into trance, I go into house music. I'm all over the place. However, there's a certain construction of my mixes that need to fit. Okay? And if you listen to some of my extended sets, you'll see that they go from softer to harder to funkier, right? That's not just based on the kick. That's based on the mood in the melodies and the vocals that I might use. The percussion is important. So if I'm in a flowy state, I don't want a pounding techno. It's going to come down to what type of DJ you're marketing to. By all means, experiment. But there are certain rules. If you want to be defined within a progressive genre, if you want progressive DJs to play your music, you are going to have to find a kick that sort of fits in that realm. However, there are more avant-garde kinds of experimental DJs that will go way out and try almost anything. But it may be harder for you to reach them when you want them to play your music. So take good care. Now, like I said, kicks were not always my specialty. They're still not the strongest part of my music production. But what happens sometimes is I'll start with a kick and I will end up in a whole different place with my song, and I need to go back and readdress the kick. So I want to show you the difference that a kick can make to a certain type of track. I have a song here that I've got most of the main elements already in place. I'm going to take out the kick that I've already got in there, and we're going to experiment with the new ones that we just looked at, okay? So this is the song with no kick at all. Right away, you probably get certain stereotypes of where this may fall in a genre, right? You have certain experiences, you're going, maybe it fits here. Maybe this is progressive. Maybe this is trance. You don't really know yet, okay? There's no drive to it. So let's experiment with some of these kicks. Let's take the warehouse kick and we're going to throw it in here. We'll extend it a little bit. Pretty badass. Not gonna lie, that's not like the kick I had in there, but that dumps. Not bad. Let's take the 808 and put it over here. Deeper, richer. Not bad. Now, I like this one because I've got a warm bass line. Overall, I try to reach a more progressive audience. This suits me. This is something that I would always take into consideration when I'm writing my music. I know art is art. I know being a music producer is liberty. It's freedom to make what you want. Experiment. When you get to a certain point, maybe you're there already, you do need to consider where you're taking your music, what labels you're signing with, who's going to listen to it. Your kick drum is going to change your song. So these are things just to at least be aware of. If you're just starting out, experiment and play. If you go back and listen to some of my earlier music, dear Lord, I've got such a variety of songs. I go from hard techno to house music to progressive to trance. Believe me, I've tried it all. It wasn't until I found myself through music that I could determine what I wanted to accomplish from my kick to my bass to my percussion, and I could pull it together more effectively. But it takes time. Don't be too hard on yourself, especially when you're learning. It's so important that you try. What does this song sound like with the kick drum? What does it do to my bass line? What does it do with my percussion? Okay, try it. Play around with it. Let's try this next one. Not bad. To me, the top sounds a little muted, okay? And I do want a little bit of a snap to it, okay? That's just my preference in this particular track. Here's the last one, analog. Oh, it's stumpy. It's like a nice low mid. Oof. Not bad. Keeping in mind when you're playing around, there are different ways of editing the kicks that you're working with. There's compressors that you can use. There's saturators. There's EQs that you can manipulate it a little bit. And often, I think a lot of people will try to find a kick and edit it, right? And when you start to edit your kicks, you're going to actually lose a lot of the natural thump, the natural flow, the natural sound that was originally created. And let me tell you, there's a million kick drums out there, and you can get them from different sample library sites. You can get them from recording them straight from gear. Believe me, when you start to look out there, there's so many kicks, you will never wrap your mind around it. So what a lot of people will do is they'll find a sample pack that works for that song. This is what I would encourage you to do if you don't have a collection. Now, Ableton has a collection built in. Start there. If it's not suited for you, go look at something like Loop Masters, Sennheiser. They have a lot of good sample libraries with one-shot kicks and even kick loops. You can find packs that are genre and taste specific. So when I've gone out and I've gotten those loop packs, I know what I want to accomplish. This is important to start here. What do I want to accomplish? What inspired me lately? What motivated me lately? What do I want to make? And then you can start to filter through their sites and find sample packs that suit you as an artist and the audience you're trying to reach. Now, one last thing that I want to show you, something that actually changed the whole way I approached music and kick drums, is a plugin called Kick 2. It's by Sonic Academy. And this is such a powerful plugin because you get to see the kick in real time. You get to generate the waveform of the kick. Now, I'm not saying you need to generate it from scratch. There's a lot of really cool presets in here that you should start with. But if you look at some of the presets, there are, pop, progressive house, psytrance, techno, and they give you a starting point for your kick. The nice thing about this that I found over samples was that all of a sudden my kick came through cleaner. It came through more powerfully. And that may have just been the way that I process sound as a whole. You're going to have to experiment for yourself to see what works. But let me tell you, Kick 2 really changed things. They're not sponsoring this video whatsoever. I just can't say enough good things about Kick 2. I use it in every single one of my tracks. This sounds like an advertisement, but it's not. So start with it. Try it. I think they have a trial you can even try and see if it works for you. But the cool thing is, just with a few clicks, you can change the waveform. You can change the tone of it. You can change the length of your waveforms. And it ultimately changes your kick on the fly. Watch what happens as we play the track. Okay, you want a longer tail? Now, of course, you want to put a little more effort into what you're doing, why you're changing it, and how to change it. But within this program, in a few minutes, you can really have a kick that suits your track once you know what you're trying to do. You can change your clicks on the fly. There's different snaps and different pops that you can just change over top. So I'm going to recommend that you at least check it out, see if it's going to work for you. But you don't know what you're going to pick until you play and experiment and try. The thing is with this is that you won't know where to start until you understand a kick drum. So look at samples, play with samples, look at the waveform, play with a generator like kick, and see how it evolves and changes with your song. Your kick depends on the type of percussion that you use, the type of melodies and bass lines that you use. This is all really a balancing game of how to make a strong, powerful song. it takes practice, it takes experience, and it takes time sometimes. With me, it took me 10 years of playing before I really knew what I wanted to accomplish and how to find those sounds. After I found them, how to modify them to suit me as an artist. Good luck out there. There's a million options for you to explore, and it's going to take some time and experimentation for you to find what suits you as an artist and what you want to accomplish. I hope these tips are going to help you find the right kick for you and help you take your productions to the next level. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.